My family sued me for refusing to cash out my retirement to fund my brother's third wedding. Your Honor, my daughter has a legal obligation to help family in financial emergencies. A third wedding isn't a financial emergency, Dad. It's a lifestyle choice. This is about family unity and supporting each other through life's important moments. Important moments. He's been married twice already, and I'm supposed to destroy my retirement for his party. Monica, sometimes family means sacrifice. My family sued me for refusing to cash out my retirement to fund my brother's third wedding. Hi, I'm Monica. Today I'm going to tell you my story, but before I continue, please like, share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this. This entire mess started 8 months ago when my older brother Gabriel announced his engagement to wife number 3. At 46, Gabriel has a track record with marriage that reads like a cautionary tale about impulse control and financial irresponsibility. Let me give you some background on my family dynamics before I dive into this disaster. I'm 43, single by choice, and work as a senior financial analyst for a mid-sized investment firm in Chicago. Over the past 20 years, I've been extremely disciplined about saving for retirement, contributing the maximum to my 401k, and building a substantial nest egg that I'm genuinely proud of. My parents, Robert and Barbara Sinclair, are both 74 and retired. Dad worked as an electrician his whole life. Mom was a dental hygienist. They're good people, but they've always had different ideas about money than I do. They believe in spending on family experiences and helping each other out, even when it means financial strain. Then there's Gabriel. My brother has always been the golden child, charming, outgoing, and completely incapable of learning from his mistakes. He works in pharmaceutical sales, making decent money when he applies himself. But he has a talent for spending every penny he earns and then some. Gabriel's first marriage was to his college girlfriend, Ashley. They had a lavish wedding at the Drake Hotel that cost our parents $18,000 back in 2004. The marriage lasted 3 years before Ashley got tired of Gabriel's gambling habits and tendency to make major purchases without consulting her, like the time he bought a Harley Davidson on impulse. Marriage number 2 was to Brittany, a woman he met 6 months after his divorce was finalized. This wedding was even more elaborate. A destination ceremony in Cabo San Lucas that put Gabriel $28,000 in debt and required our parents to take out a home equity loan to help pay for it. That marriage lasted 4 years before Brittany left him for someone who understood that marriage requires emotional maturity, not just romantic gestures. Now Gabriel was engaged to Lauren, a 39-year-old family law attorney who, ironically, should have known better. They'd been dating for exactly 7 months when Gabriel proposed with a ring that cost more than most people's cars, a 3-carat diamond that set him back $15,000. Man, Gabriel said, using the nickname I hate, during a family dinner at Gibson's Bar and Steakhouse, where he announced the engagement. I want you to be my maid of honor again. Gabriel, I was your maid of honor twice already. Maybe it's time to ask someone else. Come on, sis. 3rd time's the charm, right? I looked around the table at my parents' excited faces and felt a familiar dread settling in my stomach. When are you thinking of having the wedding? Mom asked, practically bouncing in her chair. We want a spring ceremony, Lauren said, twirling her new ring. Something elegant and memorable at the Botanic Garden. Memorable in Gabriel's vocabulary always meant expensive. Over the next few weeks, the wedding plans escalated at an alarming rate. Gabriel and Lauren wanted a ceremony at the Chicago Botanic Garden, a 7-course dinner for 175 guests, premium bar service, live jazz band, and imported orchids. The initial estimate came in at $52,000. It's going to be perfect, Gabriel told me during one of our weekly coffee meetings at Starbucks. Lauren deserves the wedding of her dreams. Gabriel, how are you planning to pay for all this? We've got some savings, and I'm expecting a big commission check next month from that hospital contract. I knew my brother well enough to recognize wishful thinking when I heard it. 2 months later, Gabriel called me in a panic while I was reviewing quarterly reports at my desk. Man, I need to talk to you about something important. What's wrong now, Gabriel? The commission deal fell through and the wedding costs are higher than we expected. We're looking at about $68,000 total now. Gabriel, that's more than most people make in a year. I know, but we've already put down deposits, sent invitations. We can't back out now. Sure you can. People change wedding plans all the time. Have a smaller celebration. Lauren would be devastated. This is her first big wedding. My other marriages were smaller affairs. That was Gabriel's way of rewriting history. His second wedding in Cabo had cost more than my Honda Accord. What exactly are you asking me, Gabriel? Well, I was hoping maybe you could help us out financially, just temporarily until I can pay you back. How much are we talking about? Maybe $25,000 or $30,000. I know it's a lot, but you're doing so well with your savings and investments. You've told me you have over $220,000 in your 401k. I felt my blood pressure rising. Gabriel, you want me to give you $30,000 for a wedding? Not give, lend. I'll pay you back with interest, I promise. When and with what money? You're already living paycheck to paycheck. My business is about to take off, man. I've got that new territory opening up, and the bonus structure for next quarter looks amazing. This was Gabriel's standard refrain. He always had big deals in the works that somehow never materialized into actual income. I'm not comfortable lending that kind of money for a wedding, Gabriel. But it's not just a wedding. It's the start of my new life with Lauren. This time is different. We've been to couples therapy. We have a solid plan. John, you said that about Brittany, too. Gabriel's face darkened. That's not fair, man. Just because my other marriages didn't work out doesn't mean this one won't. Sure enough, within days, I started getting calls from other family members. First mom, then dad, then various aunts, uncles, and cousins, all with the same message. Monica should help Gabriel with the wedding because family helps family. Mom called during one of these moments while I was meal prepping chicken and vegetables for the week. Monica, honey, she began gently. Gabriel is really stressed about the wedding costs. Maybe you could help them out a little bit. Mom, he's asking for $30,000. That's not a little bit. But you have so much money saved up. What's the point of having all that money if you don't use it to help family? This was my family's fundamental misunderstanding about retirement savings. They saw my 401k as a pile of money I was hoarding rather than a carefully planned financial strategy for my future security. Mom, that money is for my retirement. I can't just cash it out for a wedding. But you're only 43. You won't need that money for years and years. That's exactly why I can't touch it now. The earlier I withdraw it, the more I lose in compound growth, not to mention the taxes and penalties. I don't understand all that financial stuff, but I know Gabriel needs help and you're his sister. The pressure campaign intensified over the following weeks. Dad called to tell me how disappointed he was in my selfishness. Cousins mentioned how lucky I was to be so successful that I could afford to help family. Even Gabriel's fiancée, Lauren, reached out to explain how much the wedding meant to her. Monica, Lauren said during an awkward phone call that interrupted my Saturday morning yoga. I know Gabriel's marriages didn't work out before, but our relationship is different. This wedding represents a fresh start for both of us. Lauren, I understand that, but why does that require me to cash out my retirement savings? Gabriel said you have over $220,000 saved up. We're not asking for all of it, just enough to make our special day perfect. I was stunned that Gabriel had shared details about my finances with his fiancée. Information he'd only learned because he'd been snooping through papers in my home office during last Thanksgiving. Lauren, that money has penalties and taxes. If I withdraw it early, I'd lose almost 40% to fees and penalties. But you'd still have plenty left over. And Gabriel promised we'd pay you back within 2 years. The casualness with which she dismissed the financial impact of her request was breathtaking. The breaking point came at Sunday dinner, 6 weeks before the wedding. Gabriel arrived at my parents' house in Oak Park with a folder full of papers and a desperate expression. Man, I need to show you something, Gabriel said, spreading documents across Mom's dining room table, pushing aside her famous pot roast. These are all the wedding contracts we've signed. We're locked into these deposits. I looked at the papers. Deposits for the Chicago Botanic Garden, catering by Michaels, florist, the Jimmy Dorsey Orchestra photographer. He was right that backing out would mean losing thousands in non-refundable deposits. But that wasn't my problem. Gabriel, these contracts don't obligate me to pay for anything. But if we can't pay, we'll lose everything we've already invested. Over $20,000 in deposits. Lauren will be humiliated in front of her entire law firm. Then maybe you should have made sure you could afford the wedding before signing contracts. Dad slammed his hand on the table, making the silverware jump. Monica, that's enough. Your brother needs help and you're being selfish. Dad, I'm being financially responsible. Gabriel has made poor money decisions his entire adult life, and now he wants me to bail him out by destroying my retirement savings. It's not destroying anything, Mom said, her voice rising. You'll make more money, you always do with those bonuses. That's not how retirement planning works, Mom. Every dollar I take out now costs me thousands in future growth. Gabriel pulled out another piece of paper. Man, I talked to a financial advisor at Charles Schwab. He said you could take a loan against your 401k instead of withdrawing the money. That way, you wouldn't have to pay the early withdrawal penalties. A 401k loan that I'd have to pay back with interest, which means reducing my retirement contributions and losing years of growth potential. Gabriel, you're asking me to sabotage my financial future for your wedding. I'm asking my sister to help me during the most important time of my life. Your most important time of life? Gabriel, you've said that about both your previous weddings. You said Ashley was your soulmate. You said Brittany was the one. The room went silent. Even Gabriel looked shocked that I'd brought up his track record so directly. Lauren, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Monica, I understand you're concerned about Gabriel's past, but this time is different. We've been to counseling with Dr. Patterson. We have a budget spreadsheet. We have a solid financial plan. A solid financial plan that requires my retirement money to fund your wedding? It's a temporary loan that will pay back within 2 years maximum. With what income? Gabriel's commission-based job that's currently not producing commissions? That's when Dad stood up and delivered the ultimatum that changed everything. Monica, if you don't help your brother, you're not welcome in this family anymore. I stared at him in shock. Dad, are you seriously disowning me because I won't cash out my 401k for Gabriel's third wedding? I'm saying that family means sacrifice, and if you're not willing to sacrifice for family, then maybe you don't understand what family means. I gathered my purse and coat and left without another word. 3 weeks later, I received legal papers in the mail. My parents and Gabriel were suing me for failure to provide reasonable family financial assistance in times of need and seeking court-ordered access to my retirement accounts to prevent financial abandonment of family members. I immediately called my lawyer, Sarah Thompson, who had handled some contract work for me in the past. Sarah, can my family actually sue me to force me to withdraw my retirement savings? Sarah read through the filing carefully, her expression growing more incredulous with each page. Monica, this is completely frivolous. They're claiming that as a family member you have a legal obligation to provide financial assistance. That's not how the law works, especially when we're talking about voluntary retirement contributions that belong entirely to you. So they don't have a case. They have no case whatsoever, but defending against even a baseless lawsuit costs time and money. Are you prepared to fight this? Absolutely. The lawsuit was even more outrageous than I'd expected. It claimed that I was unjustly hoarding retirement savings while allowing family members to suffer financial hardship. It painted me as a selfish woman who refused to help her brother during his time of greatest need. The filing included detailed information about my financial accounts, account numbers, balances, contribution history, that Gabriel could only have obtained by photographing documents in my home office during family gatherings. I realized he'd been planning this legal strategy for weeks, maybe months. When I confronted him about it over the phone, Gabriel was defiant. Man, we tried to reason with you. You left us no choice. Gabriel, you're suing me to force me to pay for your wedding. Do you understand how insane that sounds? What's insane is having a sister who won't help her own brother when she has the means to do it. Help with what? Your third wedding that you can't afford? Maybe the insane thing is planning a $68,000 wedding without the money to pay for it. The court date was set for 6 weeks later. In the meantime, word of the lawsuit spread through our extended family and my workplace. The reactions were mixed. Some people thought it was ridiculous, but others seemed to think I was being unreasonable for not helping family. "I heard about your situation," my coworker Janet said during lunch at Panera. "It's nice that your brother feels comfortable asking family for help." "Janet, they're not asking. They're literally suing me to force me to cash out my 401k for a wedding." "Oh, I heard it was for medical expenses or something urgent. Your mom told someone at church it was an emergency." This was the narrative my family had been spreading, that I was refusing to help with some kind of emergency rather than an elaborate wedding celebration. I decided to document everything. I gathered all the wedding contracts Gabriel had shown me, evidence of his previous marriages and their costs, records of his financial history including 2 bankruptcies and multiple repossessed vehicles, and documentation of my retirement savings and the penalties I'd face for early withdrawal. My lawyer filed a motion to dismiss the case as frivolous, but the judge wanted to hear arguments from both sides. The day of the court hearing arrived on a cold Tuesday morning in March. I was nervous but confident that facts and law were on my side. Gabriel's lawyer, some guy named Kenneth Walsh, who specialized in family financial disputes, went first. He painted a picture of me as a wealthy woman who was refusing to help her struggling brother during a critical time. "Your Honor, the defendant has accumulated substantial retirement savings while her brother faces financial ruin. A simple loan from her 401k could solve this family crisis and prevent the emotional devastation of a canceled wedding. The defendant earns a 6-figure salary and has over $220,000 in retirement accounts, yet refuses to help her only sibling." Then it was Sarah's turn. She systematically destroyed their case with facts, legal precedent, and basic common sense. "Your Honor, the plaintiffs are asking this court to force my client to liquidate retirement savings to pay for a wedding celebration. Their 3rd wedding celebration, I might add. There is no legal basis for compelling one family member to fund another's voluntary expenses. Furthermore, the financial emergency claimed by the plaintiffs is entirely self-created through poor planning and unrealistic expectations." Sarah presented evidence of Gabriel's financial history, including his 2 previous expensive weddings and subsequent divorces. She showed documentation of the current wedding costs, the $68,000 price tag, the non-essential luxury items like imported orchids and premium champagne, and Gabriel's complete inability to afford them without family assistance. The judge, an older woman named Judge Patricia Henderson, reviewed the evidence carefully and asked some pointed questions. "Mr. Sinclair, how much did your previous weddings cost?" Gabriel looked uncomfortable in his ill-fitting suit. "Your Honor, this wedding is different. Lauren and I asked about the cost of your previous weddings. The first was about $18,000, and the second was around $28,000. And now you're planning a $68,000 wedding that you cannot afford without your sister's retirement funds?" "Yes, Your Honor, but—" "Miss Sinclair, what penalties would you face for early withdrawal of your retirement funds?" I stood up, my voice steady. "Your Honor, I would lose approximately 38% to taxes and penalties. That's over $11,000 on a $30,000 withdrawal. Plus, I'd forfeit years of compound growth potential, which my financial advisor estimates would cost me over $100,000 by the time I reach retirement age." Then came the moment I'd been dreading and anticipating. My father stood up in the gallery. "Your Honor, my daughter has a legal obligation to help family in financial emergencies. A 3rd wedding isn't a financial emergency, Dad. It's a lifestyle choice. This is about family unity and supporting each other through life's important moments." "Important moments? He's been married twice already, and I'm supposed to destroy my retirement for his party?" "Monica, sometimes family means sacrifice." Judge Henderson's gavel came down hard. "Order in the court. Mr. Sinclair, please sit down or I'll have you removed." After hearing all the arguments, the judge's ruling was swift and decisive. "This case is dismissed with prejudice. The court finds no legal basis whatsoever for compelling the defendant to liquidate retirement savings to fund a wedding celebration. Wedding expenses are voluntary costs that do not create legal obligations for family members. Furthermore, the court finds this lawsuit to be frivolous and malicious, filed with the apparent intent to harass and coerce the defendant. The court awards attorney's fees and court costs to the defendant in the amount of $14,500. Not only did I win completely, but my family had to pay my legal costs, $14,500, that they definitely didn't have. The aftermath was immediate and, I have to admit, satisfying. Gabriel's wedding had to be drastically scaled back when the lawsuit failed, and he couldn't secure alternative funding. Instead of the elaborate Botanic Garden affair, they had a small ceremony at a local Italian restaurant in River North with about 45 guests. Lauren was furious about the reduced celebration and blamed Gabriel for the legal disaster. Their marriage lasted exactly 16 months before she filed for divorce, citing financial incompatibility and poor judgment. The irony of a family law attorney not recognizing these red flags before marriage wasn't lost on me. My parents, faced with paying my legal fees on top of their own lawyer costs, over $22,000 total, suddenly understood that my retirement savings weren't just money sitting around waiting to be spent on family events. The financial reality of their failed lawsuit made them realize how unreasonable their demands had been. The best part was watching the family dynamic shift after the court ruling. Suddenly, no one felt comfortable asking me for money anymore. The legal validation that I had no obligation to fund other people's lifestyle choices created healthy boundaries that had been missing for years. Gabriel eventually apologized. Sort of. "Man, maybe we went too far with the lawsuit," he said during an awkward phone call 6 months later. "Maybe. Gabriel, you sued me to force me to pay for your wedding. I was desperate. Lauren really wanted that perfect wedding, and I didn't want to disappoint her. And now you're divorced again and deeper in debt than before. Yeah, well, maybe you were right about the financial planning stuff. I've been meeting with a credit counselor." The funniest part came 2 years later, when Gabriel started dating again. A nice teacher named Beth. He mentioned to Mom that he was thinking about a simple courthouse wedding if things got serious. "That sounds very practical," Mom said, "much more sensible than those expensive celebrations." I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. My relationship with my parents recovered gradually. Once they understood that protecting my financial future wasn't about being selfish, it was about being responsible. Dad eventually admitted that the lawsuit was a mistake. "We just wanted to help Gabriel," he said during a reconciliation dinner at their house. "But maybe enabling his poor choices isn't really helping him grow up." My retirement savings continued to grow, and I'm on track for a comfortable retirement thanks to not liquidating my 401k for a wedding that ended in divorce. I recently crossed $280,000 in my retirement accounts, and every dollar is exactly where it should be, working for my future, not funding someone else's party. When family members pressure you to make major financial sacrifices for their lifestyle choices rather than genuine needs, do you think it's more important to maintain family harmony or protect your own financial security and future?